forget to introduce my co-host.
Yeah, because you're just not as nice as I am. Welcome to 4MileCircus. 4MileCircus, full cycle media services company based out of Brooklyn, New York. My name is Sean Mannion. I am the lone wolf sole proprietor of 4MileCircus. And handsome as well. And I do this podcast all on... wait. No, I don't. I don't do this podcast on my own. I have a business partner.
Which apparently is a pile of chopped liver sitting over here.
Karen, I think, is her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, Karen. Karen Carpenter, my business partner. Why don't you say hello, Karen?
Ooh, from beyond the grave.
Well, that's too soon.
Wait, too soon? She died decades ago. What are you talking? I mean,
is your microphone on?
I died decades ago. Probably not. How's that?
It's mine.
There it is.
Is that better? There I am. Is mine on?
Yes.
It wasn't before.
No, it wasn't. But it's okay. You got picked up on her microphone here.
Silencing women, the Sean Mannion story.
I didn't do it. You didn't check your microphone before we started. That's not my fault.
I thought you had set up.
I did set up. You probably broke it.
Yeah, I broke it.
Because you're a ghost.
I'm a ghost.
You're the ghost of Karen Carpenter.
It's physics.
Yes, it is physics. It's physics. So on this, what do we do on our podcast, Nicole? Look, I used your real name and everything. What do we do? What do we do?
You're the host. You're the lone wolf here.
I'm the lone wolf sole proprietor. We interview artists and filmmakers and musicians, like those charming people, Lake Cambrian, or who else? Heidi Moore, who did Dolly Deadly, who's making the sequel right now.
She is. That's true.
Which
it's
is
a rock musical.
It's a rock musical. And Hayon Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to play at this game? Do you want me to just list some guests?
Yeah. Who else did we interview?
We had Rebecca De Arnailis and
Michael DiBiasio. Yeah.
We had Louisa and Eli from the Shondas.
Yeah. The Shondas. They're a band. They make the musics. We
had Chris Cafaro.
Unfortunately.
We had somebody who won't have been on yet.
Oh yes. We have an exciting new interview coming up after this one.
Are we just going to list everybody? This is going on a long time.
Who's that person? Can you not say?
It's
a secret. No, we're going to be talking to Hannah Neurotica after these 2 episodes. Cool. But who are we talking to right now?
SJ and Jenny?
No.
That's
Emma the cat? Racist.
Wait, what? How is that racist?
I'm just saying, you're kind of racist.
I mean, sure.
We're talking to Christina Raia of Congested Cat Productions, Seed and Spark, and probably something else as well. And what are we talking to her about, Nicole?
Well, Christina just shot a feature film she directed called About a Donkey.
About a donkey?
That some people in the room may have also worked on in various capacities.
That's entirely possible.
Maybe all the people in the room.
I think it's possible all of the people in the room worked on this, contributed to it in some form or fashion. What is it about?
Well, it's about a donkey.
Oh, okay, good. I understand now.
Is it though?
It's not. That's sort of the fun of the title, is that it's about everyone around the donkey.
So it's a lie.
It's like a MacGuffin. The donkey's like the catalyst for the story, what sets it in motion.
And it's a Scottish donkey.
It's an adorable donkey.
She's super cute. Her name's Cinnamon. Well, no, so it's about a family. It's about a married couple, their 3 adult children, and sort of the extended family and love interests and coworkers beyond all of them. But it's really about this family that's kind of stuck in a way. Both of the parents are struggling in their marriage, and they're both kind of going through different forms of depression or just sort of feeling stuck in various ways. And so the father, in a kind of moment of hope, I would say, spots a donkey and decides to bring it home. And that's where the story takes off, where he's telling the family that he bought a donkey. And initially it's like it creates some conflict in his marriage, but it ends up being what brings everyone together. And it's quirky and it's sweet and it's fun, and it's inclusive, and it's, I think...
inclusive of what?
Donkeys, obviously.
Yeah, donkeys, okay.
Inclusive of donkeys, a very dismissed animal.
I mean, they are kind of asses.
And just 4 Mile comedy over here.
But also, I would say it's inclusive of, like, people being people. I think that it's about a white family, but I really wanted to be inclusive beyond that and include people that, you know, are reflective of my friends and, like, what I think our country looks like. And so there's, like, there are LGBTQ characters, and there are people of other ethnicities, and there's sort of this thread of, like, love is love, and you can identify with anyone regardless of, you know, whether or not they look like you or love like you. And so, yeah, I think it's an inclusive comedy. But our mission with the film is largely to, I think, hopefully, you know, make you laugh and give you a little bit of escapism from the crap of the world at the moment, but also push you to see yourself and your story in one that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. And so for me, it's like trying to pull in people who don't necessarily seek out inclusive content and then find themselves having a storyline that resonates with them that they wouldn't expect.
So going after the important donkey fan demographic.
Of course, yes.
To bring them something new.
Don't underestimate the donkey fans.
I'm not underestimating the donkey fans. They're important. I just said. So this is an inclusive film, and it included Nicole.
It did,
which was very kind of you.
And how did it include Nicole? Nicole, how were you included?
I did art direction. About a donkey.
Art direction.
I was the art director.
She was great.
Oh, thank you. And sometimes I called you up, Sean Mannion, and said,
I was also included in the film.
I included you by saying, can you Photoshop this for me right now?
And I said,
and you did. You did a great job. Your photos that you Photoshopped are, like, included in pretty much the first thing you see in the film. It's some of your work, Sean, because we do, like, a nice montage of the house to kind of give you a sense of these characters, and you see, like, the photos that are framed on the wall, and so there's a lot of your work there. And then there's the poster that you made.
I wish I'd done a better job on
them. And I would say that your best one is sort of in the foreground.
Because some of them were difficult.
But the poster also is just a lot of fun.
Oh, you had a fake news team.
Yes.
And we made a fake
Frank and Lizette
poster for it.
Yeah.
Frank and Lizette.
In the morning.
They're my morning team.
Yes.
They're your morning team.
I drink my coffee. I watch Frank and Lizette, which is pretty challenging because they're not real people with a real show. So I'm just watching in my head while I drink my coffee.
In the theater of the mind.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely.
So it sounds like you included a lot of people.
We did. It was also.
I don't know why I'm fixated on including.
Including. We did. We actually. I mean, we had a small team, but a very. I don't know. We're all like a family, and so we included, our usual group of people, and then our cast, mostly new people, which was sort of different from our usual projects, and that was nice. We brought in new people, and very big cast, a very different experience than I think how I usually work. Like we had 12 people in this ensemble with speaking roles, and so it was pretty big, a lot of schedules to deal with, but.
And that's different than your previous film, which was also included people, but less people. What was your? You have a feature film out already.
Yes, Summit. So Summit is a horror film, kind of.
And About a Donkey is not a horror film.
No, About a Donkey is a comedy.
Okay.
Like a comedy with heart. And I think that you could definitely call it a dramedy. There's like dramatic elements under the surface, and ultimately what it's exploring are kind of dark, dramatic things, but we decided to take a lighthearted approach because I think that that's always a more interesting way of addressing things that are difficult. Like I think, comedy is the best way to talk about things and get in and get people to be open about them. But Summit is not that. Summit is a horror film. It's kind of a play on genre tropes and a sort of character study. And some people watch it and don't think it's a horror film at all, and other people watch it and totally do. And so that's been fun to see. But I would classify it as a horror film. And it has 5 characters. Also, I mean, I do ensemble pieces. I love ensemble pieces. So that's definitely a thread in both films. But the difference is that this was a group of 5 people together for the entire film, whereas About a Donkey, there were some scenes that had as many as 6 people in it, but largely it was like scenes of 2 or 3 people. There's a lot of cross-cutting. So it's like, while this is happening with 2 people, this is what's happening with these other characters. And so it's an ensemble piece in a different kind of way.
It's interesting to me, kind of the connection between comedy and horror as genres, and genres where you're trying to kind of provoke a specific reaction from people, which I guess in a way is true of any film, but it's a little more dramatic in comedy and horror, where you're trying to get people to like laugh or jump. Mm-hmm. As opposed to drama, where you're trying to get people to like care and maybe at certain points like wrench their heart and make them cry a little or something like that. But I wonder if there's a reason you're attracted to those. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is that similarity. I grew up watching horror films and comedies almost exclusively. That's what I loved, and so that's definitely kind of what I like to make. But I don't know. I think that the world is dramatic enough. I would much rather, if I'm trying to make you, I guess, address some sort of trauma or some sort of social issue or something like that, I think that it's a lot more inviting almost, and a lot easier to get through to you if it's like kind of this heightened, if there's a heightened element to it, and that could either be comedy or horror. And with horror, it's often like a metaphor that kind of gives you a sense of removal, so you're addressing something without having to really personally delve into it. And then with comedy, it's like it sort of softens it a bit and is accessible. And so those are, I think, why I'm attracted to both. But also, I just love making people laugh. And I think a distinction is, like, I wrote Summit and directed it. Kelsey, who I collaborate with, Kelsey Rauber, I collaborate with pretty often, she wrote initially About a Donkey. We collaborated on revisions over the years, but I directed that. In my own writing, though, when I do comedy, it does tend to have like a darker element to it. Like, I like to blend horror and comedy, and I think that that's, if you were to watch my body of work as a whole, you would see that as a thread a little bit more. When I collaborate with Kelsey, it's a little bit more like grounded comedy, less heightened, less dark, less like genre blending.
I think that's true. And I think like your shorts definitely speak to that. Like Hello, if anybody listening has seen Christina's short Hello, which I believe is available online now.
It is, yes.
You can watch it. That quite clearly blends comedy and horror, as does Night In, which listeners probably have not seen, but some of us in the room maybe have seen, which is another short that quite clearly blends comedy and horror. And I think that's an interesting thread. I'm wondering what's going on with Summit the movie since you made it many years ago
and released it a year ago
and released it on VHX and Vimeo on demand, and wondering what's going on with the life of that thing these days.
So I released Summit I shot Summit in 2013 in January, and we had crowdfunded in 2012, and I had written it in 2011 when I was 21 years old. It's like crazy. But I released it after a festival run in 2016 in January, and kind of decided after I was done pushing it initially with the people that had been following the film, I was very creatively and emotionally removed from it. So I decided I was just going to leave it on Vimeo and VHX and let it be what it is. But being in now post-production for About a Donkey, I realized that I wanted to explore more of the options out there for self-distribution. Should I go that path with About a Donkey? And so just this past Saturday, which I guess when this is released will be like a month, I released it on Amazon Prime. So you can now stream it on Amazon Prime. You can also rent it or buy it if you don't have a Prime account, but that seems to be how most people are watching it. And I guess around the time that this will be coming out, it will also be available on Seed and Spark, which is a streaming platform that I also work for, but it's a streaming platform for inclusive independent film. And yeah, I've decided to kind of see what I feel like with distribution, people, you can ask them all you want, but not everyone's going to want to share their information with you, like how their film is doing and how much it's getting watched and if they're making money and how much they're making. And I personally think, we should be sharing that information and helping each other out and making those decisions, but not everyone wants to do that. And part of it maybe is like trying to protect their ego because maybe it's not getting viewed or whatever it may be. Sometimes if it's like you have a distribution deal, you're under contract and you can't share that information. But anyway, I kind of really appreciate transparency, and I decided that I wasn't going to get the answers I wanted without doing it myself and exploring it myself. So I decided to just release it, which is sort of interesting because it's now been a year and a half since I've even like talked about Summit or even like really tried to push anyone to watch it. Occasionally I would say like, hey, check it out on Vimeo on Demand if someone mentioned it to me or if a review came out, or if someone had just rented it, then I'd be like, hey, cool, someone rented it. But I hadn't really pushed for Summit rentals or views in over a year. And so now I'm kind of back in that, and I'm not really promoting it. I'm kind of exploring discoverability and whether or not that exists and then how much it exists, and trying to figure out like what would drive someone to rent a film they'd never heard of on, or stream a film they'd never heard of on Amazon. And so I'm not really pushing it, but it still is just interesting. I feel like I'm going back in time, like reading people's, we got 2 reviews. I released it Saturday, and we have, I was telling Nicole, we already have over 8,000 minutes watched, which is like more than I expected. And we have 2 reviews from total strangers, and like one gave it a 1 star and like thought that the whole thing was dumb, the twist was dumb, and then the other gave it 4 stars and said like, what a twist, that was the title of it, and they like raved about it. And that's really fun.
Yeah, I read the reviews earlier when I was getting ready for this, and the one who gave you the 1-star review seemed like they only half watched the movie.
Oh, I know.
I was kind of like, were you like in the bathroom for parts of it?
Yeah.
And just didn't hit pause? Like I can get like, I've seen the movie at least once, probably twice. And I can understand like maybe missing what the twist was or something like that. But the degree to which they were like making up reasons for the twist?
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe this stuff happened when I wasn't in the room and I didn't bother to rewind.
Yeah.
That's not what they say, but that's how it comes across.
Totally. Yeah, because you would have had to have missed so many things. Like I get not getting it because there's a lot of dialogue in Summit, and there's a lot of like, the twist is largely dependent on you paying attention to the dialogue and the subtext going on there, which is like, I could have a whole conversation about how much I've grown in that regard as a writer and as a director, but regardless, like I understand maybe not paying attention and like zoning out or whatever it may be, but the way that this person just didn't get it and then like tried to rationalize it was just so absurd. And so but that's fun to read. I'm at the point where it's like, it's exciting when people enjoy it and kind of get what I was going for, but I've also embraced the fact that it is a very flawed film, and people are going to bring their own experiences to it, and like certain people are just, they like what they like or they don't like what they don't like, and people are so conditioned to expect certain things from movies now that I've like let go of the kind of ego associated with feeling the need to like defend my choices, and I'm just like taking it in. And so it's really exciting when someone just kind of like shits all over your film to some degree because it's, I don't know, it's just like it's an experience. It's like everything is a new experience to take with you to the next one.
I could be wrong, but I feel like with genre films, people like they tend to be extra polarizing.
Yeah.
Because like with horror fans generally have certain kinds of horror that they really like, and others oftentimes that they do not fuck with at all, and are just like, no, that's the bad, dumb kind of horror. I like the good kind, and it, different people have completely polar opposite opinions on this. But so I feel like when all my friends who have like genre films up on Amazon or iTunes or wherever, it's like that. People are like, this is the greatest thing. This is the biggest piece of shit. Why did you ever? Especially
right.
if they're low budget genre films, because obviously like you can see that to a degree. If you like did not have much money to spend on a film, it's gonna not look the same as if you had hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars. And sometimes people will just be like, this is the worst. I've seen so many reviews where somebody says something is the worst movie they've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, then you've seen 3 movies, because what are you talking? Because like there wasn't an incredibly high effects budget, because you can kind of tell that like, the soundtrack would be different if there was more like, but does that really make it the worst movie like people get confused about that. So if you have a low budget genre film, I feel like you're just at least a third, probably more of your reviews are going to be people railing against it for no good reason.
Totally. When IMDb still had message boards, we had this one person leave a comment that was like, a $20,000 budget. Of course it's shit. And they didn't even watch the film. And then they just kept like commenting within the same thread.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it was just,
what are you doing with your life, dude?
Yeah.
Like,
and
wow.
I was like, at least watch it before you decide it's shit. But it's like, if you're not going to watch a $20,000 movie, like why even comment? But yeah, so that's definitely part of it. I also think it's been interesting. I was used to this because we got a lot of reviews during the festival run and when we first released it, and like one review would say the like, oh, the music was overbearing, and then another review would say like, oh, it could use more score. And so I got used to people just having complete opposite opinions, and one review would say like, this actor was the best when I felt that actor was the weakest, and then another would be like, oh, this actor was the best because they identified most with that character. That was always interesting to follow. But yeah, but what I've noticed, the people who like it more tend to be not horror fans, because horror fans are conditioned, I think, to try and look for a twist or like expect a twist, and then whether or not that twist satisfies them dictates whether or not they liked the movie. And when it would screen for more general audiences and not like at horror festivals or conventions, people were much more like on the ride, like, oh, I'm enjoying like getting to know these characters or exploring the issues with these characters, and like I didn't see that ending coming, or like, oh, I didn't know where this was going to go. And there's less like a investigative kind of viewing experience and more of just like going along for the ride. That said, there have been horror fans who love it and kind of liked the, I don't know, there's some that are like, oh, they just talk too much, and others that are like, oh, I love how you were kind of playing with like tropes and gender tropes, and some people got the kind of like layer of commentary about race and gender, and other people like not at all. But yeah, I don't know, it's been nice now for the past 2 years, or really 3 years, of actually sharing it with people, because I spent so long like living with it and no one seeing it other than the core people who had worked on it, and there was such anxiety, and also like anxiety about the idea of feeling the need to share it with people because everyone had worked so hard on it, but also just feeling like I was so tired of it, and I didn't want anyone to see it. I wanted to like put it on a shelf and move on from it. And so there's something very freeing about like having it out there and being. And initially, when we started getting reviews, I found, I very much wanted to explain the context. Like, the sound has issues because, like, it was so windy and the snow was so crunchy. Or, like, this does, like, the car's driving really slow because we were on a processed trailer and we couldn't drive, like, more than 10 miles per hour on icy roads. But now I'm at the point where it's like, you're right. Like, you can see the budget of the film, and that's fine. Like, I can take it in and not have like my feelings about the film go up or down based on how other people are interpreting it or feeling about it. And that's nice. That's freeing.
There's something nice about just having someone paying that much attention to your film. Like sometimes I get bad reviews and I'm just like, thank you for like taking it seriously enough to make criticisms that make sense. Mm-hmm. That's like kind of gratifying in its own weird way.
Yeah. What's nice about these 2 Amazon reviews, I will say, is neither one of them mentioned like the technical flaws that give me more anxiety, like our sound issues or like budgetary things, or like the fact that the visual effects are not, the special effects are not up to par with what I had planned because of things that went wrong. And so it's like, you're talking about the story and like what you did and didn't like about the story. And that's kind of cool because most of our reviews were from more like film-based sites that kind of hit all of the beats of like, like the sound issues or whatever, in addition to the overall story. And so this was nice to have like a very audience-based opinion, not like filmmaker opinion, because I feel like most of our opinions and reviews and blog posts about it were coming from other filmmakers, and I've definitely become more and more aware of like the different things that filmmakers will notice and talk about versus sort of general audiences, and I think I've become more aware and better at balancing those things then, because there are certain things I'll obsess about in post are then not the things that most of the audience notices, except other filmmakers maybe. And it's like, I should have paid more attention to this and whether or not that was translating, because these are the people that I want to watch the movie and like, and want to recommend to their friends and family. Like, these are my friends who are other filmmakers who maybe would be more harsh or less harsh based on knowing how films are made. I don't know. Like, without specific examples, it's hard, I guess, to talk about that. But it's just... No,
I know what you're talking about. Totally. I think it's kind of funny when people, like, not funny, but, like, ridiculous when people, like, criticize the budget of the film. Because I don't think that usually comes from people who've actually done films, or at the very least low-budget films. Like, there are times where it's like you look at something and it's clearly low budget and it's but maybe not but has enough of a budget where it shouldn't look that bad.
Well, that's the thing that I think is more legitimate when people criticize a film based on budget, because it's like, you spent this much money on it and it looks this bad.
Right.
That's the legit thing.
But when it's ones where it's like, $20,000. Well, that's no good. It's like, it looks fucking good for $20,000.
Exactly. Like, that's they're kind of undermining their own point, I feel like.
Right.
You know, it's like, fuck you. What the problem is when we talk about this all the time. When somebody has a film that obviously cost a lot of money to make and they put a lot of very powerful, very expensive gear behind it, and it's still a shit movie that has no reason to exist.
Right. Yeah.
That's like, wow, you spent $1 million making a total piece of crap nobody would ever want to see with like nothing interesting about it. Like, congratulations.
It's always interesting because I run IndieWorks, and so we get submissions on Film Freeway, and sometimes people fill in the budget, like the money that they spent, and I'll see people spent like $18,000 on a short, and I'm just like, what are you doing? But they're like,
what do you even do? You should if they have a phone number, you should just call them. Christina Raia from IndieWorks, and I got your submission. You spent $18,000 on that movie? Yeah. Okay. What are you doing?
No, but like sometimes you can see the budget and it's like, cool, it looks good or it sounds really good, it's really polished, but the story, it's not there. And so, and other times like it'll be even worse in that the story is not there and also it doesn't look as polished as it should considering the budget. But yeah, I mean, it's so weird that people would judge a film based on the budget, especially nowadays, because you can get such good looking footage from your phone, you know? And so...
And you can get really terrible footage from really expensive equipment that you don't know how to use.
Yeah.
There have been a few times I've been at your indie works and seen movies where I was like, oh, that's nice. That's a cute movie. It wasn't like the best looking thing, but they probably, shot it on a cheap camera, their phone. They're like, shot this on 16 millimeter on blah, blah, blah camera. Shot this on a Red. Shot this on an Ari.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're just a fucking idiot. Okay, cool, great.
Yeah, that's always the interesting thing. So my least favorite question, or two questions during Q&As, is always like, what did you shoot on and what was your budget? And it's always asked. And at IndieWorks, we don't ask either question because we don't give a shit. We try to ask story-based questions or like process-based questions, but often people want to mention those things. Like either an audience member will ask, but more often than not, the filmmakers themselves will bring it up as like a means to impress the audience.
Yep.
Especially when they spent a lot of money. I'm always like, something I've really seen a lot at IndieWorks or other Q&As, filmmakers love to throw around the word no budget when they do not mean no budget. And like, I even feel
we only spent $40,000 on that one shot, Christina. That's no budget at all.
And I'm just like, my version of no budget is so not what other people seem to perceive as no budget. Like, yeah. And so that's something I always find interesting. I'm like, no judgment, fine. And you're like, it's all relative in your view of like having money, clearly,
What they meant is they didn't pay anybody for their crappy movie.
They meant there was no like budget, meaning they could just spend as much as they wanted on everything because they have unlimited funds.
We don't know how to do budgets, numbers, math, spreadsheets. That's for nerds.
I just hand over my credit card, my mom's credit card.
Yeah, it's just really, I don't know. Like, there's nothing wrong with spending money on a film if you've got the money to spend it, fine. But like, I don't know. It's like that's a, or even like micro budget. That's sort of a.
But they're
classification, yeah, exactly. It's a buzzword, yeah.
And buzzwords are meant to be thrown around incorrectly.
Well, and there's it should mean something beyond that you didn't pay anybody or that you should, the story matters more, and it should be like, we managed to get this really like good story out or this cool thing together, and unfortunately, we didn't have it. Not like, we're micro budget and we're like hardcore and that's how we do it or whatever. But more like,
so many people are like that though. It's just this like ego kind of like weird, sometimes machismo kind of thing about like, if you pay people, you're a pussy. Like, you need to make everybody freeze for 3 days, no sleep, no food because you're here to work, not to eat.
That was a quote from our last interview with Christina last year when talking about the production of Summit.
She's grown since then.
But yeah, it's like, look what we accomplished without funding or without certain amounts of support, as opposed to, we managed to get a Red, and I'm picking on the Red a little bit, I guess, but managed to get a Red, and we didn't feed anybody, we didn't pay anybody,
right? I think that's
we sexually harassed everybody
because if you can't take it, you're not tough enough for film.
Well, so like something that I don't know, like for me, you should, if you have money, you should be spending it to take care of the people that work on it, obviously, like.
Amen.
But it's always interesting to hear when someone has like a $18,000 budget or something for a short and they didn't pay anyone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what did you spend the money on? Because About a Donkey, for instance, we made that on $20,000, and like we tried to pay everyone. We paid. This was a difference between last time around. I was like, if I'm making another feature on a micro budget of $20,000, I am going to pay people. It may not be like the typical day rate, but everyone will make something if they worked on set. And And so that's like where the majority of our money went, and everything else we got was like loaned equipment or locations and food and stuff like that. But I've heard, like, I met someone recently so that they were like, oh, $20,000 for your short, and I was like, no, that was a feature, and they didn't understand how that was possible because they were making a $20,000 short, and I was like, well, I assume you're paying people, like, everyone on set a day rate, like a typical day rate, and they're like, no, everyone's volunteering. And I was just like, well, what the hell are you spending $20,000
Borrow
on?
all the equipment and all that bullshit.
Right, that's what I don't.
Then,
yeah,
like, I don't know, because I made my feature meme on even less money, and nobody got paid. But you know, what money that I did have was for locations that I couldn't get, which I got as cheap as I could get. Like nobody got. If anybody quoted me anything over like $200 for a day, it was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna find someplace else to go. We're feeding people. A lot of money went into feeding people.
yeah.
That was
A lot of time went into feeding people because I would just make everybody sandwiches because I was like, I can't pay you, but I can give you my time. So I'll give you my time to do that. And then, I was feeding people and locations and transportation.
Yeah.
I had to get equipment around, but all the equipment was borrowed. All the people, it was always like trying to work around people's schedules and all that stuff. And it wasn't, the whole like, well, we're going to spend $20,000 on whatever the fuck they were spending it on.
Yeah,
They better be like shooting in a goddamn airplane.
the fucking camera
It's always a
package.
camera,
Of course it is.
yeah.
Which is like, you're an asshole. If you're shooting on an Alexa and you're not paying anybody on your set, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Like, you don't deserve a film shot on an Alexa.
And
Yeah.
it's probably not going to be any good anyway.
No, it's not.
It's going to look shitty.
You know what was good, though, is, first of all, that cupcake that on the last day I was on set on About a Donkey, and
There were
Christina...
cupcakes? I didn't get any cupcakes?
Christina, like...
I did all that
There were
Photoshop work?
cupcakes at the wrap party.
I was, like, rushing to the train, and Christina was like, let me pack you up food. And you packed me up a cupcake, which was delicious, and also some of the noodles that your mom made with the tofu, which I shared with other Sean, who also found them delicious. Because I'm like, look, it's the noodles I told you about that we had the other day that were so good. Taste this. And we both enjoyed them. So thank you. Thank you for that. Christina.
Feeding people is important.
Christina feeds people on her sets.
The noodles were strategic because I was like, this is Nicole's last day on set. So we need to make sure that we have the noodles she liked. And then you were like leaving early and we hadn't gotten to dinner yet. So I was like, no, I have to make sure you get some.
Oh, I should have given you your Tupperware back.
Oh, it's
I have your
fine.
Tupperware.
Damn it.
Yeah, the cupcakes, we had cupcakes within the film. And I decided to just make some vegan cupcakes and give people them after we were shooting, but I had made extras so I could give Nicole one because she wasn't going to be there after we wrapped the cupcakes.
Got it. That's
But-
nice.
Let this be a lesson to filmmakers. Make me cupcakes. Thank you.
I would also like cupcakes.
It's good because I like when I'm stressed out, I bake. That's like my approach to dealing with stress, and so that was good because I was like, it's productive. It's also helping me relieve some stress. I need cupcakes for the film, so yeah.
Do you guys want to play a game?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah? Okay, so in honor of your film Summit now being on Amazon Prime, we're going to play Amazon trivia.
Okay.
I have a feeling. I have some feelings.
So number one, Wonder Woman grew up among the Amazons based on Greek mythology. Who played her mother, Hippolyta, in the pilot for the 1977 Wonder Woman television series?
Oh, fuck
Was it
you.
God.
A,
No idea.
Betty White, B, Faye Dunaway, C, Cloris Leachman, or D, Margaret Thatcher?
I didn't know. I didn't know that
I didn't
any of
know,
those
yeah.
people. I'm gonna.
B.
You're going to say
You're
B,
saying
Faye Dunaway?
No, I'm guessing Cloris Leachman. I feel
Do
like
you-
Faye Dunaway is too much of a movie star to play that role in a TV pilot, and I feel like if it was Betty White, I'd know.
Yeah, okay. Wait, what year was it?
1977. And this was for the pilot. Other people played the character when she reappeared later in the series.
So you picked two people from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. That's really throwing me.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Who's the other person
Cloris Leachman and Betty White were both on Married.
Oh, I didn't know that. I need to watch Mary Tyler
Yeah,
Moore.
you do.
I always missed it.
So good. It's on
I
streaming
should
channels.
watch it.
You should. I love Mary Tyler
I know
Moore.
Betty White, but was on it, but I didn't know Cloris Leachman was.
Yeah, she plays Mary's landlord, and she's hilarious.
Cloris Leachman is a delight.
Yeah, she's delightful.
Yeah. So who did you say again?
I said Cloris
Because
Leachman.
your
Cloris
idea
Leachman.
is too big. Movie star.
Don't let me persuade you.
I'm just gonna say it. B.
You're gonna say B, Faye Dunaway, and just a reminder: for each question you get correct, you now get one of the Chris Cafaro postcards because I need to get rid of them. You can pick whichever one you want.
Sean found in the corner anymore.
Exactly.
Our old prize. That's only for Uncle Sean's literary trivia. I'm sorry.
The correct answer is Cloris Leachman.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can have a postcard. So number 2, the Amazon River that famously runs through Brazil originates in what country? A, Colombia, B, Peru, C, Panama, or D, Atlantis? I feel like topography is important to remember with this question.
Oh God.
I mean, there's 2 options I can think of that seem possible. I don't fucking know. I'm going to say Peru. Why not?
You're going to say Peru.
I'm going to say Peru.
That's what were they? It was Peru.
Colombia, Peru, Panama, or Atlantis?
Yeah, Peru.
Peru. Peru is correct.
Woohoo! Yeah.
Yeah.
Because mountains. It's very mountainous in Peru.
And we're winning postcards.
Topology. Postcards.
Winning postcards.
All right. Number 3. The Los Angeles Amazons, founded in 2002, are what kind of sports team?
One I don't know of.
Not at all.
Exactly. That's why I mentioned the 2002, so that it would help you narrow it down. A, football. B, mixed martial arts. C, Top Gun volleyball scene reenactment. Or D, full contact motorcycle golf.
Wait, what are they?
What
The Los Angeles Amazons
are a fake team?
are what kind of sports team? Are they
No
a football team?
They're a real team.
They are a real team in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Amazons.
Founded in 2002.
Founded in 2002.
I thought it was going to be like a WNBA team or something.
Is it football?
Why
Mixed
is
martial
2002
arts?
significant?
Just because there might be other Los Angeles Amazons that were founded at a different time.
Oh.
And just in case you guys did have like more knowledge about this, I wanted to narrow it
Mixed
down.
martial arts.
You're gonna say mixed martial
I
arts?
didn't know that they had teams, but sure. Yeah.
Is 2002
Seems
the
the time.
anniversary of?
No.
Okay.
It was just to narrow it down, that's all.
I didn't know they had
Because
teams,
he
but I'm
said, what did you say? Like something about
Football, mixed martial arts,
full
Top Gun,
contact.
full contact motorcycle golf, or Top Gun volleyball scene reenactment.
I wish it was that one.
Yeah.
That would be the best sports team ever.
So are the Amazons the best sports
Well,
team ever?
she has-
I
she's
don't
off to
know
guess.
yet.
I mean-
know.
I feel like it has to be mixed martial arts.
You feel like it has to be mixed martial arts. It's a football team. It's a women's football team.
Oh, women.
I didn't know that. Like football, soccer.
There's like a women's football league. No, like football, like American football.
I didn't know that there was
I
a
didn't know
women's
that.
football.
Wasn't either.
Me neither.
Well, we all learned
That's just what
something today.
Wikipedia is for when I look up the word Amazon and look for things to make up trivia about.
There's a league like you could watch.
Yeah, it's like a women's football league. The American
cool, I
Women's
guess.
Football League or something like that.
Are there?
Women can play football.
They can get traumatic head injuries.
Everybody has a right
I should have known.
to traumatic football injuries.
Well,
Yes.
are there different rules to make?
I have no idea. I didn't look
Because
that
I would
far.
watch, but then I feel about the head injury thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, this was the
some kinda
easy
way.
round of trivia. I'm just saying. The next round for our next episode is going to be really hard.
So everybody better tune in for that because that's going to be just outrageous.
Exactly. So this has been our interview with Christina Raia. She has returned a year after
We
her
don't
first
know why.
horrible mistake of talking to us. Christina, where can people find you online and offer you condolences for having to talk to us again?
You can find me all over the place. ChristinaRaia.com will link to all of my social media, but at CRAIA9 on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me directly or my production company site, congested.cat.com.
Okay.
And watch for Indie Works, which is one Tuesday every month, where Christina hosts a night of short films made by local independent filmmakers.
Next one.
Local to New York, not local to you,
New York,
wherever you are. Just New York.
I give our listeners a little bit more credit than you do, apparently.
I'm just saying, like, you know, people, they need help.
When is this episode coming out?
End of May?
Yeah.
End of May.
So the next one is June 13th.
June 13th.
Start of our 5th year.
Lucky number 5.
Unlucky number 13.
What?
Because June 13th.
Oh, yeah.
So you gotta, so it's all there.
It was very
It all comes together. We're 4 Mile Circus, 4MileCircus.com. That's Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, 4 Mile Circus. Our next episode will again be with Christina Raia, which will technically be our anniversary episode, coming out a whole year after our very first episode.
Of sitting down on this couch. And in that one, I think we're going to talk to Christina Raia about funding for about a donkey
for her donkey fund.
Crowdfunding, even. I know some of our listeners are interested in that, so you'll have to check that out.
Exactly, but that's next time. Goodbye. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or your platform of choice. Please visit us at 4MileCircus.com to learn about our other projects and services, and be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 4MileCircus.